Yup, that's right. It's me. I'm back. And today we're going to be talking about Moana and everything that I learned after watching the live action adaptation that released not too long ago, because there's things we have to discuss. First things first, the live action aspect of it. This joint, to me, when I first heard the announcement, it was too soon, right? I feel like with live action adaptations, there's usually a nostalgia aspect baked into them, because this is something that, came out a long time ago that we have not seen in, I don't even know how long it's been since Moana came out, but it's like way more recent than something like The Lion King or The Little Mermaid, stuff like that, right? The live action Avatar series is a little bit closer, than the rest of them, but still like decades, you know what I'm saying? And Moana just came out yesterday, not literally, but you get what I'm trying to say. So that was the first thing that I was like, I feel like it's too soon. But if they're gonna do not just Moana, but Moana 2, the clock is ticking, right? If they want to include The Rock, if they want, that's basically it. That's all that you really have to really worry about, because everybody else could get, I don't want to just say recast, because it's easy to recast people when it comes from animation to live action. But the point is that, obviously The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has a star power, right? He gonna bring the big bucks. So we brought him in to do the voice, to do the songs in the animation. You want to bring him in to do the real thing. So gotta, lock in before it's too late, because he's not mega old, but what I'm saying, obviously he keeps in great shape, but he's getting up there, you know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it now, and they're gonna be able to capitalize off just the momentum of Moana 2 coming out not that crazy long ago. So the excitement is just there, right? So there's a nostalgia aspect to these live action series that I'm not going to say it's necessarily there in the same way as it would be for like a Little Mermaid or even a Lion King, because I've been having this discussion with Chris on the podcast, and this came after us watching the live action Avatar series, Avatar: The Last Airbender to be specific, and that is, do live action TV shows versus live action movies get more grace for being a one-to-one adaptation, or are you expecting to see more of a workshopped version of a series, because there's a lot of episodes to compile into one separate show? You get what I'm saying? So in a movie, me personally, I'd rather have more of a one-to-one type of situation, because of the nostalgic factor that I'm expecting to see, because I want to see something that I'm familiar with, but also see it in a whole new format, a whole new light. So that's what gets me excited about it, because then I get to relive the movie when watching it for the first time again, versus in something like the Mufasa movie being a completely new story but set in the same world in live action format. I would rather go back to that movie than go back to the actual Lion King live action series with Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? So there's a give and take with both of those scenarios. But with Moana, I feel like, because it's still been, it's still so soon since the original thing came out, I think it, even though it doesn't necessarily have that like crazy nostalgia that's like going to, possibly break records, it's a really good movie. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact, and I think as long as you have that, and that being the foundation, you're set up for, as long as you got the budget and the money to pay for all of the animations and get all the right kind of actors and stuff like that, you're gonna be good money. You know what I'm saying? Versus like some of the other live action animes that we've seen on Netflix that have kind of just basically flopped, right? And I don't want to make this a Netflix versus Disney thing, because it's more so about I guess we could call it a genre now at this point. But to get more specific about the movie, I really enjoyed the fact that it was more so that, yes, it was more one-to-one, but there were definitely things that they cut out of the movie that were kind of just like not necessary, but also separates it from kind of the things that you can do in animation and things that you kind of be like, I don't know how that would work in real life. That'd be kind of weird. It's already weird it goes from cute to weird in, from animation to real life. Because it's like, I don't know if we need that, from like casting age to completely cutting characters out to, just different decisions that you make that you might not necessarily notice right away while you're watching the movie, but after reflecting, you're like, dang, they completely cut this character out of the movie. You know what I'm saying? So in some cases, it's a lot more drastic. In Moana's case, I don't think it's that drastic, but it's more so like a funny scene that, just wouldn't necessarily work or wasn't necessarily necessary to produce a good film, and especially in the time frame that they want to make it. So that's just like the overarching, big picture aspect of live action movies. To get more granular about this movie specifically, I think that the actual story and pacing of the movie was really good. I wish that we could have got to see more of like Moana's just, Moana's like ability in earlier parts of the movie before she became a master wayfinder, because I went and rewatched like the opening of Moana before recording this, because I just wanted to make sure on a couple things before I sat here and talked about it. And the first thing that I really noticed was like that desire to, go out to the ocean was way more emphasized in the animated movie than it was in this live action jump, mainly because it was more so about the ocean and coconuts in the live action joint versus like getting to see her actually attempting to escape the life of a chief's daughter and the chiefdom, and to go sailing across the seas, and she was getting thwarted throughout the whole opening of the movie, versus in like the live action joint, it was more so about the vibe and the song and experiencing the island and seeing all the different things. She still got to see all the things that make a chief, as far as like her growing up and realize what her responsibilities are. So there's still that weight added to it. But when I went and rewatched the opening for the animated movie, when I went and watched the opening for the original movie, I noticed that was like a major factor that I was like, now you really saw her desire to be out on that water. So when them songs came up, it hit extra hard. But I feel like that would have been nice to add to, the live action series, but there's things that it's like, it probably didn't necessarily, needed to get the point across if you already kind of know what's coming. Now, if you're watching this for the first time, and then you go back to the anime movie, it's just a bonus at that point. But that's one thing that I did notice. And then like when it comes to Maui's introduction, excellent. I loved it. I loved every second of it, because it was more so like about seeing the blend of the real life world into the animated like storytelling that we got to see, that's in all of Moana, honestly. But just to be able to see the tattoos come to life in like live action, and then see how it's seamlessly blended into the environment, stuff like that, to create the atmosphere that was those different songs, was dope. And then as far as like the overarching story going into like the ending of it, because I don't want to dive too deep into the whole thing before you want to see it. It's just like just my initial thoughts on the movie. I'm still not a big fan of how Moana ended, but I realized after watching it this second time, or really this first time in live action, that the reason why it was so important that the big bad wasn't sentient, it's not the right word, but like enemy that is like looming throughout the story and just like a big abides monster at the end, is because the whole point of not only Moana's story, but Maui is self-discovery and self-acceptance, right? So, you know, Moana is in a movement of just discovering who she is at her core, and then accepting that she is a wayfinder, and that there's more to her than the island, and more to her people than that. And we get to see that happen like easily throughout the movie, right? But then once Maui gets introduced, we get to see him working through his, you know, people pleasing issues that doesn't necessarily like get to the point that is directly brought up early, but it hit home later, and getting to see him accept himself for who he is and what he's done, so that like he doesn't make the same mistake again. You know what I'm saying? And there's like a real reflection and intimate moment between him and the Heart of the Sea, or I forgot the name of the island thing. But you know, if you see Moana, you already know what I'm talking about. But that was something that like definitely stuck out this time for me watching it versus the first time I ever watched it. And I feel like that has a lot to do with it being live action and being real people, because with animation, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff going on, right? But they also can be a lot more expressive versus like with real people and live action scenarios and movies and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that go unsaid, but it's shown through body language, right? There's not a lot of facial expressions to clue you in on what and how you should be feeling about a certain situation, but it's the subtle things that really play a factor into it. And I feel like with Moana specifically, that is something that I saw happen in real time. I'm like, dang, it's not so much that like the performance is that crazy because compared to the animation joint, but it's more so like, oh no, it's just a different form of art in general, you know? So that's like the value. I'm starting to see more of the value of having these different iterations of something, because you get to see more of what encompasses a character versus just, you know, the one you get in the beginning. So I'm excited to see if they're going to do a Moana 2. I don't know necessarily how it did in the box office, but I went and go saw that joint. It got a round of applause. I'll probably give it a 9 out of 10. And yeah, we'll see how I feel when it comes down to if I do an actual review. I'll probably end up doing more of a deep dive into live action versus animation and originals, and the difference between the movies and expectations between TV shows, because I feel like there's something there. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about that, and you know, maybe I'll make a video about it. But as of right now, that's what I noticed from after watching the live action Moana. Let me know how y'all feel in the comment section below, and I'll see y'all in the next one. All right, peace.